All right, guys, so we're going to be talking about some things I really don't like about my 6th gen Camaro today. Now, I love this car, so I really have to nitpick to find things that I don't like about it, but I'm going to name a few. We're going to start off with the factory brake pads. They're very extraordinarily dusty. You can drive the car very lightly and only for a few miles, and you can already run your finger on the wheel and pick up dust. As you can see here, these are pretty dusty, and this is about 100 miles of driving. So factory brake pads, very dusty, very dirty. They actually make so much dust that it sticks along the side of the car, which is kind of crazy to me. For a factory pad, and they're very noisy. At low speeds, they squeal like nobody's business. So at some point in this car's somewhat near future, I will be putting different brake pads on the car, just for my own sanity and the car's cleanliness. Next thing I don't love about this car is factory adjustable exhaust. It's fantastic. The way that you control it could be better. So we can go into here and I'll show you. We're gonna key the car on. So you can see there, we got some Chevy stuff going on there. Really cool, awesome. It's gonna do what I want it to do. There we go. So you actuate the exhaust. You can either do it by this button here, but I have it programmed to run independently, so I can run the car in tour mode, but also have the exhaust in track mode. So you go up here, you go to vehicle, driving mode. That's where you control the sound. Boom. The vehicle must be turned on to access this setting. Now, what really drives me nuts about this is if you park the car in track mode, but you want to start it the next morning in stealth mode, like I usually do, you have to go in, the engine has to be running to do that. So if you forget the night before and you go out the next morning and want to start it in stealth mode, well, too bad, you're starting it in track mode and your neighbors are going to wake up with you, which is fun, but it would be nice if you could just access this feature from key on instead of engine on. But again, pretty nitpicking feature here. Other than that, I like everything in here. The plastics are cheap. Everything's kind of a hard surface, but that's okay. I'm used to it. Compared to newer stuff, sure, this isn't quite as nice, but you know, the Camaro is by far the cheapest muscle car available, so you get what you pay for. If they're going to cheap out on anything, I'd much prefer them to cheap out on the interior than other pieces of the car. But let's move on. Let me see if I can reach that there. So we got brake pads. We have the car needing to be turned on to access the adjustable exhaust. Let's take a peek under the hood. Now, boom, LT1, baby. Hell yeah. What's not to like here, you might ask? One thing, direct injection, not a huge fan. It functions really well because, you know, the car's brand new. 100,000 miles from now, we'll see. It's not a great setup in my opinion. It adds a layer of complexity and it makes all of the parts for the fuel injection system very expensive. So I'm coming from the perspective of I plan on owning this car forever, so at some point I'm assuming that's going to give me a headache. So direct injection, kind of a downside. While the car's brand new, you don't really care. You know, I'm sure the emissions are decent for what it is, and the gas mileage is phenomenal actually, but from a long-term ownership perspective, the direct injection does make me nervous. And that leads me into my next part that I don't like about this car. Since this car is a manual transmission, it does not have active fuel management, and that is GM's system of cylinder deactivation. Manual transmission cars do not have it. That's great, good news for me. The only problem is the biggest weak point of the active fuel management system is the crappy lifters. This engine, even though this car does not have active fuel management, still has the crappy lifters. Why they do that, I have no idea. Very stupid. And that's really the only thing keeping this engine from being pretty bulletproof is the crappy lifters. Now, as long as you don't idle the car for extended periods of time and you maintain your oil changes and things like that, so it's stuff that I do, I should be okay. But you never know. These lifters have had a very high failure rate in the last few years. So at some point that might be a big headache for me. So that would be the things that I don't like about the engine. You go on to the transmission, there's really not much to not like. Shifts beautifully, very nice, ratios are nice. What I will say is the skip shift feature, I think they've actually made it worse. On my 4th gen, it had skip shift when from the factory. It was very easy to disable, thankfully. But it actually worked okay. On this car, it functions similarly, except that it flashes in the center screen a big message every time that it wants you to skip shift, and it blocks out all of your gauges in the center digital section, which is super annoying to me. And a lot of times it'll flash that message in the middle there, and it won't even make you skip shift. So it's like, why are you flashing the message at me if you allow me to shift into 2nd gear anyway? So that's kind of annoying. Really don't like that. I might look into a way to get rid of that, to be honest, because that is pretty irritating. But yeah, that's about it. So that's really all I don't like about the car. The car's been really sweet so far. Really enjoyed it. Only 1,500 miles, so I'm sure I'll come across more things as my ownership continues. But yeah, I mean, it's a fantastic car. If that's really all I can find that I don't like about it, I think we're doing okay. So thanks for watching, guys. Any questions you might have, feel free to put a comment in there. I always try to answer them. Thanks for watching, guys.